The Walking Dead has for years been the most popular scripted show on television. It also happens to be based on a comic book. How have I not done a full video on this show yet? This video will be filled with spoilers, but looking at the numbers, I think it's fair to say everyone has seen this show. It's had an extraordinarily checkered history, with a revolving door of showrunners behind it. Unlike AMC's other beloved series, Breaking Bad, which was co-owned by AMC and Vince Gilligan, the creator of Walking Dead, Frank Darabont, sold full ownership of the show to AMC. This is why, after a year and a half, Darabont himself was fired from the very show he created. But even before he left, budget cuts in the second season were quickly killing the series. But even with production issues, the success of the show has made it so AMC has announced that they plan this series to go on forever. So, does it suck? To find out, let's start at the beginning. To be perfectly frank, The Walking Dead Season 1 is perhaps one of my all-time favorite seasons of any TV show. It's not perfect by any means, but honestly nothing is. The show fairly quickly shows us what a lot of the best zombie movies do. It establishes that zombies are not the worst things out there, and that with civilization crumbling, the worst of humanity starts rearing its ugly head.
I'll tell you the day, Mr. Yo. It's the day I take orders from a nigger.
Would you like a chocolate-covered pretzel? They're a little melty, but damn, are they exquisite, yeah?
No.
Oh, come on.
No, please.
Awesome.
No.
Here you go.
In a good zombie movie, the zombies are just the beginning. The real threat is the form humanity takes in its wake. But then, this series did something I haven't seen before. It showed us the best in humanity, the good that people are capable of in the face of devastation. Add to it, the series moved quickly, giving the sensation that, in a world like this, the only way to survive is to be fast and mobile.
Sorry, brother.
Then we get to Season 2, where instead of the group constantly moving to stay ahead of the zombie horde, they just go to a farm and hang out for a year.
This place, it's beautiful. I can't believe how serene it is, how untouched. You're lucky.
You might find this shocking, but with that premise, Season 2 was far less interesting than Season 1. Don't get me wrong, I won't call it a complete train wreck, but it's not very good at all. Shane, who was a severely flawed yet very human character in Season 1, is pretty much just a bad guy in Season 2. And Lori, who again was a flawed character in Season 1, just becomes a straight up bitch in Season 2. These characters were far more mixed in Season 1, having good and bad traits. If Shane didn't risk his life to barricade Rick in the hospital, Rick won't become zombie chow in the coma. But now Shane is just a villain. The season ends with a surprising death and a completely predictable death, and the farm gets destroyed.
And there was much rejoicing.
Which honestly becomes the formula for the rest of the series here on in. The group finds a place, settles, place gets overrun, group moves on. The formula for the series was determined by one of the worst seasons.
Shut up.
So much more happens in Season 1 with less than half the episodes. Next, there's Season 3, where our heroes find themselves in a prison. Isn't it interesting how prison, which is meant to be used to isolate the harmful from civilized society, is now being used to isolate civilized society from the harmful? Are we going to explore this at all? Well, that's cool, because there's actually something more interesting to explore, since the bad guys of the season are a group led by the Governor, who's a character designed to be an anti-Rick, who has set up a town called Woodbury, thereby setting up the idea that the villains are civilized and the good guys are in prison. Perhaps even setting up the idea that in order to have a running civilized society, you have to be somewhat evil. Are we going to explore this at all? Well, it does at least set up a great versus between these two camps that will result in a huge blowout.
Are you serious?
So how does this end? The governor runs away, and the survivors of Woodbury go to the prison. So that's a lot of good ideas that went absolutely nowhere. That sums up season 3 in a nutshell. Season 4 fortunately came back somewhat strong, taking the idea that something as simple as the flu could become a serious, life-ending contagion. The story went on maybe 1 episode too long, but was interesting. Then we get a 2-episode governor story arc, which is 1 episode too long. They spend a whole episode trying to establish that the governor may redeem himself. Does anyone actually think that will happen?
Right.
Then the mid-season ends well with the group leaving the prisoner and the governor dying, which feels long overdue.
And there was much rejoicing.
Then we follow the group through the forest for the next half of the season. That's literally what the second half of season 4 is, and it's as exciting as it sounds. At the beginning of Season 5, we finally had the group going up against Terminus. Terminus was the big area the group was heading to throughout the back half of Season 4. They spent forever going there, likely because they need to find a story, and Terminus seemed like a good place for that. And it's all over in 1 episode. Half a season building up to Terminus, and with 1 episode, it's over. From that point on, we've been in the Alexandria storyline, which has honestly been fine. In my opinion, it's probably as good as the series has ever been outside of Season 1. They thought of ways to expand the Alexandria storyline naturally, introducing other towns formed after the apocalypse. So why am I annoyed with the series that's honestly at a high point? Because the last 2 seasons have felt extremely consistent. We have random walker attacks, random characters leave town and come back, some characters die, but no Season 1 character has died since Andrea in Season 3. So the characters are settling, and there's really only certain characters they're willing to kill, and they're all going to be characters introduced within the past couple years. Of course, we got a cliffhanger ending. I know exactly which character dies. It's the character played by the actor that's least willing to take a pay cut. That's what that type of cliffhanger is for. Some or maybe even all the actors lined up in front of Negan have yet to finish their contract negotiations. And by writing this type of ending into the season, they're leaving the actors in a much weaker position to negotiate. Literally, the last actor to come to an agreement dies. It's messed up, and it's not an artistic decision, it's a business decision. The very idea of this series going on forever is rather terrifying. It's fine now from a quality standpoint, but I am completely burnt out. The tone is the same, they haven't done anything really new in the series for a while. You can say the idea of new communities working together or warring are new, but it's not. It's the same thing done in Season 3 with the prison in Woodbury. It's just expanded and varied to seem new. As for Fear the Walking Dead, I have yet to watch it, but I already feel burnt out on it. I know that's not fair. Perhaps that series will be a fresh new take that excites me back into this universe again, but that seems unlikely. I probably should watch it, so when they do the Avengers-style crossover, I'm up to date with all the zombie killing the groups have done so far. Can you blame anyone for being burnt out on a series that has been redundant for years and clearly has no exit strategy? Frankly, this series needs to figure out a way to end, so it can do so before the writing becomes a pile of shit again. But according to AMC, there will be infinite more episodes of this series. Watching a series that long sounds exhausting, to say the very least.
Look, Dad, taking it like a champ.
Take your hand, you stick it in your ass like this. You've been walking all day and you're also nervous, so no doubt you'll be sweaty as hell. There, now you shake hands with the guy. Hey, Mr. Svenning, how have you been? Scrub all you like, it'll stick around for at least 2 days. How does he explain it to his colleagues and family? They'll think he doesn't know how to wipe his ass properly.
Meanwhile, you yourself are left with a hand that smells like shit.
Hey, if you like this video, please make sure to hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe. That helps me out a lot. And if you really love this video, consider visiting my Patreon page.